Okay, welcome to week 2 of our Life in Love series. Last week, we laid the foundation. We talked about design, talked about how we are made for relationship. We are made for love. That's going to keep coming up this whole series and honestly throughout your life. It's something we come back to over and over again. Tonight, I present to you a whiteboard. And on this, yes, this whiteboard is literally on its last legs. On this whiteboard is something called, anybody? I guess it's kind of a timeline. Oh, whoa, who said, okay, all right, okay, I'm with you. I don't disagree. Nobody said this was my board. Give me 2 seconds. If that's possible, then that's possible. Is that not true? Ew. Oh. I'll just do that. that was supposed to be like really happy, you know what I mean? Well, okay, that's off to a great start. All right. Okay, this is what we call the relationship scale, right? And the reality is, every single one of us in this room is at some spot on this scale, whether you like it or not. Over here, single, obviously. Over here, married. And in our world, our culture, it feels like the goal in life if this thing works, you kind of start here, and then you move along the scale until one day you get married. Or now in this world, you're like not even married. You just are what? Happy. That's right. But in between single and married traditionally, or just happy in our world today, there's what, Levi? What's all this space in the middle, Carlucci? What's all this over here? Wow. I guess so, but you don't call it dating in today's world. What is it? Talking. There we go. Yeah, you kind of start talking, snapping, hanging out, two-manning, whatever that is. That sounds weird. Hey, it's... So, Levi, stand up and tell everybody what this is and that it is not weird, even though it sounds weird. Levi, it's your time. Levi, stand up like a confident young man. Levi said, yes, see? Weird. Okay. But apparently that's a term that people use. All right, so this is the scale in our culture. And as you talk, at some point, you officially date, right? And then if you really start to get serious outside of high school, but probably still young adult, ideally before you're 30, maybe even before you're 25, if you get lucky, you get to this stage where you kind of get really serious and then engaged, and then it leads up into marriage or happiness. And if you are like me, this can kind of feel like a lot. And I know what you're thinking, like, Collin, hey, you're all the way over here in the married stage, 33, well, not quite yet. I turn 33 on Friday, which would be great. But still, 30, thank you, 32, and 4 kids. Like, you're all the way over here on the scale, Collin. This doesn't really apply to us and where you're at in your life. But I was thinking this week about a couple things. Mainly that our culture kind of has a couple faulty ideas with this scale. You all pointed out one of them. Sometimes, especially as you get older, you have more value the further that you go on the scale. But we know value is not tagged to a relationship status that you're in, which doesn't feel like a big deal in high school, but as you get older, you start to feel that pressure. Value is not tagged to that. It's tagged to who you are, to the one who made you, to your creator. That's one of the faulty things. Then the other faulty things with our culture is something that we're going to be exploring tonight. And When I was your age, I was a 15-year-old kid in my freshman year of high school. I did not wake up thinking about this relationship scale. In fact, that's a little strange. Maybe some of you, do you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm still single. That's not how it works, right? You're teenagers. You wake up and you're like, what classes do I have today? Am I going to see, this person? Did my friend text me back? Do I have practice tonight? Like, am I feeling better after like my injury a week ago? You're waking up thinking about your life right now. You're not like, I'm a 15-year-old single person. I'm not married yet. Like, that doesn't even make sense. And I was right there with you, too. I remember my freshman year of high school, I was waking up thinking all of those things. And then one day in language arts class, I noticed this girl, her name's Dana, across the room. Definitely was not going to go talk to her. Definitely, wasn't going to go up and be like, hey, I'm Collin. We have the same class. And she's like, obviously, But I didn't do that. I noticed her, saw she had a great smile, and would look forward to language arts class. And the semester wore on. My sister had a boyfriend at the time. She's like 4 years older. He was a nice dude. And they were like, Collin, do you like anybody? And I was like, obviously not. And they're like, obviously yes. And I was like, well, there's this girl in language arts or in English in my IB freshman class. And they're like, you should make a move. And I'm like, there's no way. It's getting close to Christmas break. And they're like, it's English. It's writing. And you're in a poetry unit. And they're like, I know what you're going to do. You're going to write her a letter. And I'm like, a letter's way too much. I'm a freshman. I was like, I'll write her a note. And they're like, put it in her locker. Do you know where her locker is? Which I'm like, yeah. It's not weird. She just had a locker nearby, okay? So I write up a nice Christmas note. I put a poem at it. And then I was like, how is she going to reach me? Like, do I put my address? Like, is she going to mail me back? And they're like, put your number, And I just got an LG chocolate, which was a flip phone. Anybody? You remember those? It was like a ruby red. And she... and so I wrote the note, and on the last day before Christmas break, I put the note into her locker. Again, not thinking like, okay, I'm single, like maybe this can start something. I'm just like, whoa, I kind of like her. I have no idea how to talk to her. I'll drop a note in her locker. Guess what? That night, my phone starts ringing, and my heart drops so far, and I look at it and I don't recognize the number, and I'm like, I don't answer numbers I don't know. So I let it go to voicemail, and I pick it up, and I'm listening to her voicemail, and I hear her start to talk, and two things are going on in my mind and heart simultaneously. One, she's saying, Collin, I really appreciated the note. I thought it was super cute. And I'm like, she didn't even text me. She just gave me a call. Like, that's crazy. And she says, there's a dance coming up after Christmas break called Morp, which is the opposite of prom. The girls ask the guys. And she's like, I'm wondering if you'd like to go to the dance with me. And I'm like, whoa. But I'm like a doofus freshman boy, and I'm sitting there listening. And in the voicemail, I'm like, her voice sounds so strange as she's talking, which is like the weirdest, meanest thing ever. And I'm like, is it my phone? Like the phone's making the voice come through weird? Like, I don't know. Her voice to my ears sounds so strange. And for the record, her voice is not weird and your voice is not weird. So do not second guess that. I just was a strange freshman boy like every other freshman boy. And so now I'm like, can I go to the dance with her? And so I call back because I was going to text. My sister's like, no way. I give her a call back. She doesn't answer. I say, thanks for the invite to the dance. My answer is yes. And so we start school back in January. We don't talk to each other. We don't do that. But then the day of the dance comes, right? And we're like, oh, we got to kind of figure this out. So we arrange to meet at the dance 15 minutes before. And we meet at the dance. And she's like, hi. And I'm like, hi. And her voice sounds the exact same. And I'm like, I don't know if I can talk to her. Like, her voice just sounds so strange. So I'm doing the thing you're not supposed to do, which is what? Being immature. I avoid her at a dance that we're coming to together. We have like one dance together. I kind of make a joke. I'm kind of laughing. And then I just like turn around and kind of walk away. Totally fumbled the bag. Is that, no, the ball, the bag. The bag. All right, thanks. Yeah. And thanks. Yeah. And towards the end of the dance, I'm like, my dad's here, I gotta go. And she's like, okay. And she reaches up and she gives me a kiss. Just a little peck right on the lips. So she was just operating according to kind of like what you're supposed to do in the sense of like, here's the stimuli, I guess. At the time, I don't know. I freaked out. I didn't say anything. I ran to the car, and that was my freshman year in this world saying, I am never going to, quote unquote, go on a date again. But obviously I started school the next day and was just like, hello, and you kind of do your thing. And I learned like, okay, if you like a girl and she has a great smile, make sure you can also like listen to her voice, and things are good to go there. In my world, at the time, is what was in my mind. And so then that goes to my sophomore year. In the springtime, I noticed another girl on the baseball team. She wasn't on the baseball team. She was like the manager. And I was like, whoa, she seems kind of cool. And she was talking, and I was like, I can have a conversation with her. Everything seems good to go. And before you know it, all of a sudden, we are like actually dating. And I have no memory how that happened. But it was like a whirlwind 3 weeks where she was like, hey, do you want to skip this class with me? And I'm like, I'm in like IB program. Like, I have to go to school. And she's like, it's not that important. And she would like get me to skip classes. And finally, after like, could you believe it? I know. And I was like, this is also way too much. And so then I learned another lesson. I was like, all right, I guess you want to notice her, be attracted to the person, make sure you can talk to them and like your voices are compatible. What does that even mean? And then also like their lifestyle somewhat measures up or like matches with yours. Like, I guess there's nothing wrong with actually there are things wrong with skipping classes, but we were on different pathways. And so I was like, okay, check, learned that lesson. Junior year was just so focused on school. Am I right? It's the worst. And wow, okay, bummer. Everybody says junior year is the hardest, which is true, unless you're in the IB program and senior year kind of smokes you. But junior year comes, and I'm like, I'm not going to do this at all, really, because I was just scared. And then senior year comes, and you know about her. She walked into Spanish class. I saw her. I was like in love at first sight, just threw everything at her. And I was like, I'm 18 now. I'm like, I'm about to get out of high school. I am starting to think about being single. There's kids, friends that are starting to like actually seriously date, and I'm like, I'm gonna be a real adult in the real world. I gotta have at least like some experience, and also like maybe see, can I actually do this thing? And so I was really excited about getting to date her, about getting to move on, and it was a crazy whirlwind 3 months, as you know, when I tore my AC. Oh wow. When I tore my ACL, I threw myself kind of like at her, hoping she would just like keep me together with my life falling apart. And of course, everything fell apart. You saw the messages last week. And I also then realized at the tail end that she had been dating a guy, her first real boyfriend, for 1.5 years before me. And I was like the guy she dated, right after. And I was like, dang, rebounds are rough. You know what I mean? And so you got to make sure you're in a good spot for both of us. That went tank down the drain. And so I'm graduating from high school now, actually saying I don't really have one successful dating experience under my belt, but I did encounter Jesus somewhat in my senior year. And I started to be like, wait, God loves me. He has a plan. I want to figure out what that means a little bit more. And I started helping out at the church more. I got connected with summer camps. Wouldn't you know, noticed a girl who was on the like program team for the summer camps, and she seemed really cool, really grounded, really funny. She had a high school diploma, so that was great. And she was going to CU, the school that I was going to, and we start talking and texting. And all those things were part of it. Snapchat wasn't there yet, but doing all of that stuff. And then at some point in my freshman year in college, a couple months in, we started dating. And I was like, okay, high school was rough, but now I'm good to go. Like, I am excited about this. She seems really cool, and we started dating for 1 year. And when you're in your, like, I was 20-ish years old, and you start dating for 1 year in somewhat, like, church culture and setting, everybody starts talking about what? Marriage, which is like tough pressure, man. And so I started thinking, like, is this it? Like, is this the girl? Is she the right person? For me, I guess in some ways, am I the right person for her? And as I was thinking about that, so much anxiety started just crushing me and weighing me down. And I started distancing myself from her as we were dating. And she started noticing that, right? Obviously. And it all kind of culminated in this moment when I was a sophomore in college. college. She was a junior. She was a music major, great violinist. And it was like 2 days before, what's that holiday in February? Valentine's Day, and she had, so romantic there, and we had Valentine's Day, and then she had her major recital. It's the one that post-doc programs would look at to see if she was ready for it. And I walk out to the car because I didn't have a car. She was picking me up to go to an event, and I have my journal with me. And like a fool, my journal is open. And I get into the car, and I'm just like feeling all this. And at the top of it, the journal says, "A year off of dating." And she sees it immediately. And we've been dating a year and a half at this point. And like this thing's happening or not. And your boyfriend shows up in the car out of the blue holding a journal that at the top says like, "A year off of dating." She's like, "What is that?" And everything just comes crumbling down. And she's so surprised, super hurt. Days before her recital, right before her Valentine's Day, plans completely fall apart. And I realize like, I'm the worst guy on planet Earth right now. And yet there was a part of me that felt like, whoa, this giant weight lifted off my chest. And I'm more confused than ever. And I was like, she seemed great. She loved God. She had great friends and like had good morals, and she was funny, and we could talk. And she didn't really like sports at all, but that was okay. It's not about measuring up everything perfectly, but really, I'm back to the drawing board, and now I'm a 21-year-old, and I'm still all the way back over here, single. I guess more this one in the middle, feeling like I haven't really learned all of these great experiential lessons that I told myself at 14, like, hey, just go on a date with the girl and see if we match up and if we connect, and then I'll have a good experience for my life. 6 years of this mentality of like, oh, maybe this is the right person. I'll try to go on a date with them. Let's see how that goes. All of that just brought me, it feels like, back to square one, but now with more bummer and more baggage just weighing me down that I'm going to have to bring into my next date and next relationship at some point that obviously I'm not wanting to bring in and to figure out. And so I am wildly a mess and super confused, feeling like this whole structure has let me down. And in high school, I had nothing that helped me the rest of my life, and in fact, I'm worse off because of it. Bit of a Debbie Downer in that moment, but guess what? That was the same time in my life when something. It's okay. You can get up if you want. I mean, if you're comfy, you do you. But that was a time in my life where I was kind of in a mess. How I went about dating was not working, and yet I had good community. I had people in my life who loved Jesus, who loved God, who had my best interest at heart, who believed in God's design, in the real good story, and believed in me. And they were like, Collin, we're going to figure this out, but are you willing to listen? And that was the first time in my life when I actually sat down and looked at my pattern of how I went about this whole thing and felt like this doesn't work. And so in that time, you ready? I present to you what I learned in that moment called the Relationship Scale 2.0. Can you believe this? Look at this. If you want to see my mind a couple days, we need this here. I'm a righty. Okay, so then I was like, wait, it's not that different when I think about who I am within a design, but there's a couple differences, right? That changed everything for me as I was 20 there with several failed relationships, never really having learned anything, not any closer, certainly not any happier, and with this like idea of like, what if I don't get married? And I started learning about this through who? Through friends, through people I trusted. I started like listening and watching sermons at church. I started opening up my Bible. I started saying, wait, dating does not just exist in this empty world that we try to get our way through it and hopefully find the right person. Oh, she kind of is. That's better. Okay, sorry. Dating exists within a design. And this is everything we talked about last week. And I was like, wait, I'm not any less valuable at any point of the scale. I have 100% value because of what God has said about me. And that changes absolutely everything, because the fact that I was made for a relationship to glorify Him forever in close relationship with Him gives me what I need to do what? To know who I am. Every time that I started dating or even talking to somebody, noticing somebody, whether it was Dana or Katya in my senior year or Brittany afterwards, every single time I was so focused on what? I was focused on who the other person was. Like, are they the right person? Are we going to have good chemistry? Are we going to connect? And I was never very focused on me in the sense of like, who am I? When you go on a date or you start talking to somebody, guess who you're bringing into that situation? Wow, that was good. That was really good. You're bringing yourself into it. And that seems so simple, but it's actually so profound, because yourself is on a path. And you are on a path towards becoming somebody. And when you start talking to somebody, the you that you are now is on a path to the you that you'll be one day. And the me that I was so focused on finding the other right person that 6 years later, I was just as lost as ever, not having found the right person and also not knowing who I was. And so in my 20s, something that I wished I learned when I was 15, 16, 17 would have been great, 18 would have been perfect. I wish I would have learned this, that, wait, you're saying, Collin, that in this world of maybe meeting somebody, of talking to somebody, I don't have to focus so much on who the other person is, on if they're the right person. You're saying I should think about who I am right now, what kind of person I am right now, and how that person, me, shows up in who I'm talking to or who I'm dating. And again, it seems so like, yeah, obviously, but wait till you read things like this. Wait till you open up the scriptures. Wait till you open up the Bible. And I was at a point in my life where I was like, guess who gets to tell me who I am? Right here. If I try to let other people tell me who I am, myself, like I got to get this and this, my friends, the world, the culture, this whole scale falls apart unless it sits on this designed foundation where God, the one who made us, gets to say, this is who you are, and this is then how you live. And so I was like, God, what do you have to say about me? Who am I? And I had never opened up the Bible like that in my life, saying, God, you have words for me in here that say who I am, that will give me everything I need to have full life. I'm going to read them, and I want to know who you are in return. And so as I was reading, I encountered, let's go to this one first, actually, in Ephesians 5. I read this verse. Imagine reading this verse, thinking about who you are in this whole thing when I was so focused on other people. It says this, Paul's writing to the Ephesians, and he says, follow God's example, therefore, as dearly loved children. Like right here, it's there, and I'm like, wait, I am so loved. There's not a gap in me that has to be filled, and then it says this, and walk in the way of love. Just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. And that hit me because you're like, oh, walk in the way of love. Like, do the Christian boyfriend thing. Like, you go to church on Sunday, you meet up, do that, whatever. That's not what it's talking about. Because a couple weeks before that, I remember reading this famous chapter that people read at weddings, at marriages, in 1 Corinthians 13, where it talks all about love. And it says, hey, walk in the way of love. And then I was like, wait, this is what love is. This is who I am meant to be. who I am called to be because of the love of Jesus that was put into me at the beginning of time and then was fused together after the separation through Jesus' death on the cross. He's saying, wait, right here, Collin, love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. And I had to stop there and I was like, wait, am I somebody who is patient? Where I never put pressure on someone else, especially a girl I'm talking to. And as I was thinking, I was like, I don't know if I can say that at all. Love is kind. Am I focused on her, on other people? Am I lifting them up? Am I finding ways to notice them, to serve, to be kind, to compliment when I go on a date? Is it about me, or is it like, whoa, I can't believe you went fishing. Like, that's so cool. Like, tell me more. Whatever it might be. And I was like, dang, no, it does not envy. When the girl in my senior year started dating the guy that she was dating before me, the first guy, remember? And there's a whole story there, and she started dating him. The level of hurt in my heart and bitterness in my heart. And I was like, everything God is talking about, or Paul is talking about right here, is not describing who I want to be. And the who that I am right now is the who that's showing up when I talk to somebody, when I go on a date. And that is not the who I want to become. And so I actually want to become somebody that I hope to meet one day. I want to put myself on a path where I'm becoming the man who I'm meant to be, where you're becoming the person you're meant to be. And then keep reading. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. And I was floored. And so we're pausing here tonight, but next week, we're going to get to hear from another couple, Noah and Addie, as they talk about their experience of saying, wait, how do you figure out who you are at a really tangible level? And why does that mean everything? And then I'll share with you a bit more like real experiences I had after this breakup. The girl I was dating a year and a half, and I was 21 years old, and truly for the first time I was like, who am I? And I want to become somebody where I live into the truth of this, that I was made in God's image. I was made for love, and this is what that means. And if I'm being honest, that's not what my life looks like. And it started looking like very specific things that I hope is an encouragement to you. Whether you're 14, 15, 18, a leader, that tonight you realize, wait, in this world of dating, focusing on who the other person is, are they the right person, is a trap where you'll never find happiness. I should say only focusing will impact that more. But allowing God to tell you who he says you are and believing that and living into that in your life, that will serve you more than you know and will set you up to navigate this whole journey in your life with deep joy. So worship team, you can come on up. As we close out here, that it's so easy to read these words that are in the scriptures, that are in the Bible, and to think about them as like a nice thing up here, like it is. But the moment that verse impacts your heart and you start saying, that is who I'm meant to be, somebody who lives out of love, that will transform how you think about this whole life and love thing. All right, let's pray, and then let's close out with a bit of worship and then head to small groups. God, you are good. We trust you. It's so true that you made us before all things. You designed us. And that truly is the secret ingredient to our joy, living into that. You have so much to say about who we are. And I just pray that tonight, maybe even in worship, some of these students would hear that. They would hear who they are. And they would also maybe understand and realize, like, wait, am I living into that? Do I know who I am? Do I believe that? And how does that impact who I talk to, who I date, how I go about dating? Because God, you've designed us for so much joy. And navigating relationships in our lives does not have to be confusing and weird and awkward all the time. And so, Jesus, I just ask that you would do all that you want to do in each of us in the right timing. And may we encounter you here in worship right now. Amen.